Hello everyone, today in this video we're gonna learn how we can convert a Figma designs into Flutter code, and also as a bonus I'll show you how we can create responsive app designs. Okay, so let's get started. So this is the Figma UI that I have to create. You can see the UI is fairly complex. So what I'll do is I'll jump onto this developer mode that Figma has recently launched. Okay, by selecting the developer mode, I'll come into the code section, and over here you can see the various options that we have. I'll select Flutter over here, and as you can see it has outputted the code. Okay, first of all we'll do nothing, we'll just simply copy and paste the code over here. Okay, as you can see over here, the Figma hasn't done a very good job at replicating the UI, but it has matched the baseline, basically creating the background borders and stuff. It has done that. So what I'll do now is basically see, if we look closely into the code, what Figma has really done is it has created stack. As you can see over here, it has created stack, and by using the position widget, it has placed the widgets inside this container. Now this is not the right approach, as we want to use columns and rows to create the widget, but it has not used any row or column over here. It has simply used position widgets. Okay, so what we can do is we can come into the UI mode and deselect the UI, break down the UI. If we look closely into the UI, here we have a foreground container and the behind we have a background container. So we'll start from the basics. We have separated a background container. We'll go into the developer mode and copy the code for this background container. Okay, so I'll just remove all the code from here and paste it. Now as you can see that it has created a container for us. Okay, so the reason why the container isn't centered is because the column doesn't have proper width. So what we can do is we'll assign it proper width, and as you can see the container is now centered. Now we want to make responsive UIs as well. How we can create responsive UI? We'll just select the entire screen the designer has created for us, and over here we can see the height and width of the screen. The width of the screen is 428 pixels and the height is 926 pixels. Taking this width and height as baseline will scale up or down the height depending on the device's screen. Okay, so let's assume the width of the user's device is 300 pixels. So we'll scale down the widget by that much width. Okay, I'll just share the code with you. What we'll do is create a size object. Okay, so using the media query, we have created a size object. Now what we need to do is we need to find the ratio. How we can find the ratio? Let's say first we are finding the height ratio. Size.height divided by 926. Why 926? Because this is the base height that the designer has created. Okay, now similarly we'll do for the width ratio. What is the baseline width? It is 428. Okay, so as you can see that we have created height and width ratio. What this will do is basically if the user's device is, if the height of the user's device is 900 pixel, it will scale down the UI by that much. Okay, so what we need to do over here is multiply it by width ratio. Now the UI that will be created will be up to scale. What we'll do now is we'll print these both and see like if it's scaling up the UI or scaling down the UI. Oh, you see I made a mistake over here. See, it is showing that the width ratio is 2. So basically it is scaling the width up by 2 times. So over here I made a mistake. I need to I corrected that now. And now as you can see it as see that the height ratio is 1.006 and the width ratio is 1.004. Basically it means that the device that we are working on right now, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it has basically the same width as the screen the designer created for us. Okay, so this is what we need to do at every UI element in order to create a responsive widget. Okay, so now we'll start creating other elements of the UI as well. Okay, so we have created this background container. The next thing we need to do is basically this day 2. We need to fix this day 2 over over the top corner. So what we'll do is we'll see it is padded 16 pixels from the left side. Okay, we'll copy paste the code of this. We have selected this day 2. We'll copy the code over here from over here, and now what we need to do is basically create a stack. So this is the container that we needed to create, and over here also we need to multiply it by width ratio and this by height ratio. Okay, as you can see, it is showed up over here. Now what we'll do is wrap up with the positioned widget and lift. Now over here the designer has padded it. Let's see, designer has given it a padding of around 16 pixels from the left. So what we'll do is we'll do 16 multiplied by width ratio. Now you get the point why width ratio is important over here. So the UI is responsive. Okay, it's looking good. Now actually what needed to be done is this upper part of this capsule should be hidden. So what we need to do is basically hide that upper part of the capsule. So as you can see that we have a container, that the code of the container we copied from the Figma, and then we created a child stack, because basically the UI that we need to create is formed in a stackular way. By that I mean that we have a base container, and on top of that we have another container, and at the bottom also we have another container. So now we're creating the UI. We have also copied the code for this capsule thing. Now in this UI there is a little error that this capsule, upper part of the capsule should not be visible. So for that what we'll do is in the position widget, and we'll basically estimate that it should go up by 16 and multiply it by height ratio, so that it is responsive for all the devices. Now as you can see that the upper part of the widget is hidden. Okay, that's good. Now what we need to do is over here, as you can see that it's showing day 2. So we need to create a child that shows this day 2. Okay, so we'll just select this text over here and copy the code of the text. See, these are the little things that like take a lot of time, and like we have to master the style and other things. So these are the little things that Figma can help us at this moment. Okay, so we'll create a center widget, and then voila, we'll simply paste this code and okay. So there's an error in Figma. This height thing over here that Figma like always does is like we need to remove it. And now we have day 2 over there. But as you can see that it's not centered. But we specific like the reason why it's not centered is because basically we are pushing the container by 16 pixels from the top. So it's, if we remove this top thing, it is centered. The reason like see, it is centered if we remove the top thing, but as soon as we do not remove it, and like we get this error. So for that first of all, let me do one thing. I'll just do const everywhere. Okay, so now we'll wrap the text widget by padding, and we'll push the widget down by 16 pixels. 16 multiplied by, again we need to multiply by height ratio. Now this is not const, so we'll just remove the const, and now the text is centered. Okay, good. Next thing we need to create is the title over here. Okay, so how do we create the title? Now as you can see that the like the UI is going in a column like way. So we'll create a column. The first child of the column will be this title. The second child will be this background container. Okay, so let's create a column. We'll just remove this. Okay, so the first child of the column needs to be this conversational practice thing. So we'll just select it from Figma, copy the code, and done. And again, what we need to do is remove this height thing. Okay, So now as you can see that the widget is appearing over here, over the top left edge. And why is that? any any suggestions? Why is that? Why is the widget appearing over the top left corner? So basically, if we look down over here in the Figma, that it is being pushed by 36 pixels from the top and 76 and 76 from the left and right. So how do we achieve that in the code? So basically, if we also look down to this container, it is being pushed by 16 pixels from left and right. So what we'll do is we'll keep this in mind and create a container. Okay. So we'll wrap the column with a padding, and from top we'll push by 36 into height ratio. By left will push by 16 into width ratio, and right also 16 into width ratio. Okay, so now we'll center this using the center widget, and as you can see that it is centered now. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to create this background, now this second element. Okay, and we'll follow the same approach as we did before. We'll separate the background from the foreground. Now we'll turn off the developer mode for now, and this is the background container that we need to create. Okay, so we'll select it, go into developer mode, copy the code, and now we'll press Ctrl Z. Okay, so we have copied the code and we'll paste it over here. The only thing we need to do here is, okay, so why is it showing an error? Okay, it is not const, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so we do need to multiply it also by width ratio and height ratio. Okay, and now we have, if we look closely, we have this container created. Now again we need to push this container down by 19 pixels from the conversation practice thing. And how do we do that? We can create a size box that is in 19 height multiplied by height ratio, and that's okay. So why is it giving an error? Because we haven't specified height. Okay, so now it's pushed 19 pixels from 19 pixels to the bottom. Okay, let's create the children objects of this, that is this exercise 1 and other things. So for this what we'll do is, and we'll use a list view. Yeah, let's use a list view dot builder. An item count will specify 3, and okay, inside this we need to return a container. Will return a container. The child of the container will be a row. You see why the row is because we need to first create this and then this. Okay, so we'll select this, go into developer mode and copy this. See, it has created all the code for us using even the text. It has also used a text.rich text span thing. Okay, we'll just copy the code, paste it, and now what we need to do is multiply this by width ratio. And another thing we need to do is remove this height thing from everywhere, and that's it. We have this speaking thing. So now this is not visible. Why is this exercise 1 not visible? Okay. So Figma did make an error. It hasn't given the color of this text. So for now, we'll just copy paste this white color itself. We'll remove this else thing and simply use the /n. Okay. So other thing we need to do is we need to pad them like from the bottom 17 pixels to the bottom, right? So what we'll do is we'll wrap the sized box with padding. We'll remove the size box and create a container, and we'll give a margin of 17 pixels to the bottom. You see? Okay. From the top also we need to pad it by 18 pixels. Okay. So for that we'll simply create a just create a you see over there. For that we'll just simply use the top container and pad it, like add padding at the parent container and agent 6 dot only top 17 into height ratio. Okay, so that is done. We'll change the color of this exercise one for like with blue right now. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to create this log item thing. Okay, so we'll just select it and go into the coding thing, and as you can see that it has some things going on over here. We'll just simply copy this container. I'll copy this container and we'll close it for now and paste this container over here. Okay, so now we missed a bracket. Okay, so now you can see the container is pretty much like what we wanted. It has messed up with the border though. Okay, so now we'll add an icon and give the icon a color. So Figma won't be able to, like, it'll show you the asset that you can export the asset. It won't be like able to give you this icons code, reduce the size as well. Okay, it looks good now. We'll just change the alignment so that the gradient looks somewhat better. I'll do this -6.7, I guess. Should look better. Okay, no, it's not looking better. We'll just use alignment alignment dot top center. Let's do this and end at alignment dot center right. Looking a bit better. Okay, let's move on. Now we need to create this bottom container thing. Okay, we'll just select it and copy the code from here. Okay, we'll close up this, and the row is ended, and so is the list view builder, so is this container. Let's copy the code over here and see. It has messed up with the gradient again, so we need to fix that as well. So for that, what we'll do is we'll take apart the UI, select this, go into the developer mode, and we'll just copy this. Let's see if it's any better. No. So Figma is messing up the gradients pretty well now. Okay. So let's focus on the gradient a little later. Let's just copy the text as well. We'll use child row and then children. And then what we need to do is remove the height. Okay, that looks good. We also need to pad it by 24 pixels from the left. So what we can do is either create a size box or use the padding widget. Again, 24 into width ratio. Wherever you're using or dealing with width, use the width ratio. And whenever you're dealing with the height, use the height ratio. Okay. So the last thing we need to copy is this lock thing, and we'll just copy the code. Again, it is using stack. I don't know why. Well, let's just copy the code of the container and paste it. We'll multiply it by width ratio. Now, because we want this to be like circular, we'll use the width ratio in both cases, because the height and width ratio can be different in different devices, so it won't turn out to be exactly circular. Now we needed to push this to the bottom edge. Now you see over here there's a circle inside a circle, so we'll have to use a stack for that, right? So we'll just copy this container code, and first of all let's change the color from here. Looking a bit better. Okay, it looks a bit better. We do need to push this to the bottom edge, so for that we can use a spacer. I'll push it towards the edge, and over here also we need to use the width ratio and the height ratio as well. Okay, yeah, looking good. Now we'll use the positioned widget, and the child is this code over here. First of all, the child is this outer widget, that is again a container. Okay, and we need to display it from the bottom. And 0 from the right. Okay, so it has come to this edge over here. And this is what we wanted, and inside this container we'll again copy the code of this internal container. Okay, looks good. Again, now we need to multiply these by width ratio, and over here also we'll just multiply by width ratio. Why I'm doing this? Because we want it to be circular, and if we multiply by width and height ratio differently, it will not turn out to be circular. Okay, the UI is looking pretty much like we wanted. Now we need to create a lock icon. We'll change the color of the lock. and the size as well. What should be the size of the lock? Let's see the size also from here itself. Okay, so what should be the size of the lock? Let's try 30, 35. Okay, looks good. Now there are minor touches that you might have to do, like change the padding into this widget, change the gradient over here, but you get the idea. Using Figma, how we can supercharge a Flutter development and also create responsive designs. The best use case of Figma right now is to just copy paste this container codes, this borders and stuff, and the text as well. So there isn't a lot. The code of the Figma isn't production ready as of now. It will change soon, I guess. I hope so that this will change soon. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the video. If you like the video, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Like